I have this weird thing where no matter what, I wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and I can't get back to sleep. It's recent. It's been the last couple of weeks. So I'll flip through the channels and try and find something to watch, which doesn't necessarily help me go back to sleep. But I was flipping through and I noticed that Get Out is on Tubi now. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll watch Get Out. So I let it play, thinking, because I've seen Get Out before. I bought the DVD, I bought the Blu-ray when it first came out. I've seen it. I liked it. It's my favorite out of the Jordan Peele movies. I'll be honest, I was kind of disappointed. I need to watch Us again. But I was kind of disappointed with Us and Nope. And I don't know if that's a me thing or a Jordan Peele thing. I liked Get Out though. So I had it on since I've seen it before. I've seen it a couple times. So I figured, I can go back to sleep to this. It's not like I'm going to be grabbed by it because I don't know what's happening. And I end up staying up. I can't get back to sleep. I'm watching the whole thing and it finally ends. I forgot how much I love that ending. The ending cracks me up. That dude, his friend. I love the TSA guy. But then another movie comes on. And I'm like, what is this? And it's kind of got my attention. I can't tell what it is. And I'm listening to the opening narration. I got my eyes shut. I'm trying to go back to sleep. And I open my eyes. I look at the picture and it's like, is this like a comic book movie? That'd be weird to go from Get Out to a comic book movie. But then I was like, well, maybe it's based on a graphic novel. But the opening narration was kind of like, it was interesting. It had my interest. It's like this guy and this girl. So I was like, well, now I got to see what this is. So I pause it because it'll tell you what you're watching. And it's Horns. I'm like, isn't that fucking David Ratcliffe Harry Potter guy movie? That I've never seen it before because it just looks stupid. Harry Potter with horns. Because like, I missed the whole Harry Potter thing. Like I was too old. By the time it came out, I was almost 25. And like my daughter's too young. By the time she was born, they were done with the whole thing. So I just missed. I mean, she's seen it. But like, not with me. I missed it. Star Wars and shit was coming out with new stuff when that shit was popular. And I wasn't a big Lord of the Ring guy either. So I was like, I don't like fantasy, which is ironic because this movie, it's listed as several things, but it's not really horror. It wasn't really horror to me. I mean, it was awesome. It's directed by Alexander Aja, who directed The Hills Have Eyes remake, which I like more than the original. I said it. Yeah, I know. That's not a diss on Wes Craven. There's something that you got to know about Wes Craven though. With everything he did before Nightmare on Elm Street, it's good. There's a social commentary element to it. Not as blatant as Romero, who denies it, but there's a certain thing that, it's not a social commentary so much, but it's more like he just he does research. He takes like real things that happen and he's like, well, what if? And puts cool spins on it. He has a lot of good ideas, but a lot of his stuff, like in the 70s, there's a lot of movies, and they're all on Tubi. If you type in Wes Craven on Tubi, you can find all of his older movies that you probably never heard of, and they're all there. And they're not scary. They don't even seem like horror movies. I mean, even the original Last House on the Left doesn't seem that much like a horror movie. I mean, it's fucked up, and it would suck. I used to define horror movies as, that would suck if that happened. Because Last House on the Left, the soundtrack threw it off for me, or the score. It was just like, it was almost it's almost like it's like, this is too intense. How can we water this down? I know, we'll put like some goofy music behind it so people won't be as dull. Like the remake to me was a horror movie. The original was just kind of like, it was a fucked up movie, but like I Spit on Your Grave was way more fucked up. How did I get off on this Wes Craven tangent? But it wasn't until I was done watching it that I looked up and saw it was based on a novel by Joe Hill. And I'm sure you guys are well aware, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. But he just did, Black Phone. I liked Black Phone. Although, I watched Black Phone a few months ago for the second time. And there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, doesn't need to be there. Because usually the movie's like, this is that, and there's foreshadowing and everything. So there's like a lot of stuff in Black Phone that you don't notice or I didn't notice the first time I watched it, where it was like, there was like foreshadowing for stuff that never happened. Which is like, it's kind of funny. It's kind of unheard of. I like this better than Black Phone. But even though they're totally different, I love the mood and the feeling of Black Phone. But this movie just, it kind of had everything. It had everything but horror. Which, and I hate that because sometimes it's like you tell people, it's like, oh yeah, that's not a horror movie. And they get offended. They're like, what are you saying, it sucked? I was like, no. Like the movie Green Room, I have this argument 3 times a week. Where it's like, oh yeah, I liked it. It's not really a horror movie though. And people are like, what do you mean? You're saying it sucked? It's like, no, I'm not saying it sucked. It just wasn't really a horror movie. It was like, it was too realistic. There's a certain, there was nothing in that movie that couldn't happen. There was nothing ridiculous. It was just kind of like, this happened. These guys got screwed over. The characters all did the right thing. There was nothing really horror about it to me. I mean, it would suck if that happened to you. But there's also a fine line between thriller and horror. And to me, thriller is like shit that could really happen. Like Saw treads loosely on that line where it's like, Saw could be a thriller because that could really happen. Whereas like Freddy Krueger, and I know Wes Craven kind of loosely based it on events somewhere, but like, that would never happen. Nobody's getting burned to death and coming back to life and killing people in their dreams. That's never going to happen. Jason Voorhees drowning and then coming back inexplicably 30 years later or whatever. That'll never happen. So to me, that's horror. I don't know. What's your definition of horror? But this movie had everything. It was a good mystery. I liked the characters. It had like this humor.
I said you should take that screeching pig of yours by the hair and drag her the fuck out of here. Fuck you!
And then there was like a certain amount of ridiculousness in parts. But then, and it's a 2-hour long movie. And for me, I get tired. This was in the morning when I'd already been up for a couple hours because I watched Get Out. And I'm trying to get back to sleep. I was up through a whole 2-hour movie. I can't do that usually. Like 90 minutes. Like if a movie's more than 90 minutes, I'm like, sorry. That's why I'm not really into supernatural movies. They're too fucking long. But I don't know, this movie had me the whole time. And I was even rooting for old Harry Potter the whole time too. I was kind of like, well, is he gonna do it? I was waiting for a plot twist. I'm not gonna ruin this. I did post about this on my Facebook page the morning I watched it. And I was surprised by the amount of people that seen this movie because I never hear about this movie. Because it looked kind of dumb, to be honest. And so I never went out of my way and I just kind of forgot about it. And nobody ever talks about it. Nobody's ever like, oh, you ever seen Horns? So I was like, this movie must have flopped. So I was surprised to learn a lot of stuff. That Joe Hill, Alexander Asia, it's a good movie. And I give it 2 thumbs up. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Only one person on my Facebook page thought it was stupid. Also, there's a link to my Facebook page and group in the notes below. So go check it out. I recommend the group because the group you can add content to, whereas the page, you just see what I'm doing and that's kind of boring. There's more people on there, but I do the group. I'm trying to grow that. So I don't know. Go watch this movie. Tell me what you think. Preferably on the YouTube channel comments. But if you join the Facebook group too, you can do it there as well. However you want to do it. Whatever your preference is. All right. I will see you guys next time.